This is Sean Hennon, writer of episode 917, El Conejo. You're listening to the Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
Holy guacamole, peeps! Welcome back to the award-winning The Blacklist Exposed podcast. Greetings, one and all. I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Engineer Peterson, and also, I don't care how many gigabytes you move around in your mother's basement, Troy. Thanks for joining us yet again for number 177 on the Blacklist. El Conejo, written by Sean Hennon and directed by Andrew McCarthy. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com.
Well, at least you got Andrew McCarthy's name right.
Yeah. Jeez.
You can sit at the end of the episode and you guys can hear how many times they're trying to figure it out.
My wife's Hispanic, so I'm going to be in so much trouble later. Just them.
You have been banned from the family.
You have no idea how serious they take that, even inflections. So it's like, even if you get the inflection. So I'm just going to say the rabbit, because that's what it means.
There you go. Which is that like a garden thing? Rabbits eat avocados or something? Like, what? How did he come up with the name of the rabbit?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but that's a good question. Like, why is he called I assume because he's jumping all over the place?
I don't know. Kind of like
right?
Kind of like the show, maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they should call it The Well, because that's what we're going back to, right? Bazinga.
Oh my gosh. We'll get there in a little bit, but if you're new to the show, first we run down our profiling question from the week before, where we talk about how we felt about Cooper and Aram and who should be in charge of the task force. Then we get into this week's case profile and all of the points that we need to cover. And then, of course, Special Agent Intel, where we hear from all of you, the fans, who are still here at episode 917. So we did have last week's big question, which was Cooper or Aram, who do you want to be in charge of the task force?
Now, people were split 50-50. They don't think Aram can do the job, but they also want something new. What? He's the guy that's been getting the job done forever. Russell just shows up with a gun every now and again. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, sometimes you just need a pretty face to diffuse the situation.
It's true. I have zero problem with Aram in charge. I think he's a good fit. Good fit. And maybe he'll keep things in check, unlike Cooper, who's apparently just all over the place these days.
He's like, oh, I'm so sorry that Agnes and Charlotte are here in this pit of despair.
Charlene.
Whatever.
Although I would love it if he called her Charlotte, because he's just like, I'm so sick of everything. I'm just going to call you Charlotte from now on. You brought this on yourself. Well, the question for next week is, why would Kaplan want Liz killed? Think about it. According to everything going on, Kaplan's behind this scenario. Why would Kaplan want Liz killed?
Oh, yeah. In case you didn't watch the episode, spoiler alert. Apparently,
we're talking about the episode. It's literally called El Conejo. And probably not pronounced correctly like that, but definitely that's what it's called. It's called the rabbit. That's what we're talking about. What'd you think we'd be talking about?
Oh, my gosh.
Psst, spoiler alert. They mentioned Kaplan at the end. Remember the lady, that very, very sweet lady that fell into the water?
Of her own accord when she jumped off that bridge?
And, you know, we've talked about this over the years, that she could survive a bullet. She could probably swim.
The one that did a dead Mr. float?
Yeah. Never saw her body in an autopsy table. Never saw her gravestone or her funeral where many of her friends witnessed her body, like Liz. So we know Liz is dead. So please let that go. Yeah, Kaplan's back. Spoiler alert. We'll come back to that.
Or someone impersonating Kaplan. We don't really know if it's Kaplan herself.
Didn't see her. It's an important fact. Could be, maybe she had a mystery daughter. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that would make sense why a mystery daughter would want Liz dead, because it's because of you that my mother is still floating down a river somewhere.
No, why don't we actually get into the show and then we keep talking about this, because I got some thoughts now that you kind of brought this up.
Good.
My gosh.
Good.
Before we find another potentially dead character coming back to life, let's get into this week's case profile.
All right. Well, we open The Rabbit with a guy having a Groundhog Day. Same thing over and over. Very lonely life. Actually, it's kind of my dream life. I would really love that life.
Except for the yard work. I don't want to do yard work.
Yeah, I would really hope I could hire someone to do that, because honestly, that's the one thing I hate about owning a home myself.
Yeah. I'd be on a kayak or some kind of boat, just sitting out there in that water every day. That's what I would be.
Oh, yeah.
Not raking leaves. Screw that.
You know how I do my yard work is I look at my neighbor's lawn and I compare. If I feel like his is a little bit shorter or long, if his is a little bit longer, then I just keep going. I'm like, well, if he can do it, then I'm still going to look better than him. That's really all I care about.
So it's not a matter of you want to look better than him. You
don't care.
Because this is the whole lexical ambiguity thing. You want to be better than him versus as long as he just looks worse than you.
No, in case I didn't clarify, my wife is Hispanic, and what things look like are very important.
Oh.
So I have to make sure that I don't have the worst lawn in the neighborhood. As long as my neighbor has a worse lawn, I don't have to mow it.
There you go.
Because I can always point across the street. Look at the neighbor's yard. You're mad at me for not mowing. Look at the neighbor's yard. I'm lazy is what I'm saying. Like, honestly, that's the honest to God's truth. I hate mowing.
No, see, you're not lazy. I'm the one that's lazy because I pay for someone to mow my lawn.
I can't do that on principle. I can't. It's too expensive.
Townhome living.
Yep. Oh, one day, we should probably, the podcast, right, about Blacklist. One day, Red is there. He just pops up, ruins all the enjoyment of living that solitary life. Because apparently what Costa's been doing is his goal or servitude was that he maintains this location until Liz showed up, because this is where Liz was supposed to go once she escaped from killing Red and then took over the organization. Now, why couldn't Liz just live here? That's a question I think worth asking. I should probably put words in the proper order.
Yeah, why couldn't Red just put her in hiding and stick her in this place, and her and Agnes could run around and play in the yard and build a swing like her and her mother shared back in the day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, don't get me started on that plan.
And we should be clear.
So,
because people always conjecture, and this has always been a problem with the show, especially with a lot of the fans. It's that we assume that this is where Liz was supposed to go after she killed Red. But this plan could have been in place anytime Red was going to die, not just after Liz murdered him in front of the restaurant. So this plan could have been in motion for some years, because the last time Red was going to leave.
No, he has a conversation with him and implies that this was a recent plan, because how long, he's like, I didn't know how long to wait, because he said it's been 2 years, so he said it's been 2 years, which means it's been 2 years since they set this up.
I suppose you make that assumption then.
I made that assumption based on the words. Yes.
Yeah.
I did.
Because remember the last time that he did this, though, it was the cemetery guy. He had the whole, this is how you run the business and the story and the who I am built in a letter that was buried in a crypt in a cemetery. And then he ended up burning that letter after it was discovered where it was. So he obviously had to have a backup plan of doing that exact same thing. Maybe this was the backup plan.
This felt like this was the plan that he had for the Liz taking over, because all the training videos were there in that safe, which he had recently made, obviously, because he didn't look much different. And he said, it's been 2 years. And he said, well, you didn't tell me how long to wait. So I think he clearly said that. So he asked Costa, what is the protocol? I want to hear from your lips how the plan was supposed to work. And then he clarified, you're supposed to die. Then Liz will be given instructions on how to make her way here. We will be waiting. Noble lighthouse keeper at the end of the world. It would be poetic if you hadn't betrayed my trust. Well, he didn't. So this poor guy got tortured by Teddy and his bocce balls for nothing. And they did find the recordings at that one location last week. And so the indication was they were in this safe that was in this lighthouse. And apparently someone took the safe out and replaced it with an exact duplicate while apparently Costa was out, I don't know, chilling.
Yeah. This is the whole reason why you don't do yard work. You're out in the back 40, minding your own business. Someone breaks into your house, steals a safe, puts the other one back, and then you come back in, get some tea and some lunch. And
you got to really be into your yard work if that's when it happens, right? You got to really be into it.
I mean, he had a pretty big estate. I mean, when you're out there doing yard work, you put on your headphones, you got your podcast playing or your favorite tunes. Like you could miss the whole 10 minutes.
How old are you that you call them tunes? Jesus Christ, what time is Soul Train show on? All right, so if Red had a villa, once again, that no one knew he had, I don't understand why she and Agnes couldn't just go there. But anyway, there's a safe only Red or Liz can get into. That's the specifics of the safe. Not even Costa could get in there. Nobody could get in there. Not even Dembe could get in there. Only Red or Liz could get into it.
Biometrically coded to their signatures only.
Yeah. So, I mean, this feels like overkill for a bunch of DVDs, but what do you think?
I mean, piracy was huge. Napster took down an entire industry.
There you go. It's funny. You know what's funny is I'm making fun of it. I like this episode. I actually had fun with this episode. It's a good episode, especially the Aram storyline. I didn't think the safe aspects were stellar, but the Aram storyline I thought was pretty good.
If the safe aspects hadn't ended in the way that it ended, would the safe aspect been better? It is kind of clever if you think about it.
It's okay. It's clever, but you would literally have to have how many people on site to get a safe out of a wall and get it to a vehicle and then replace said safe. It's just, logistically, it's quite an achievement.
Logistically,
to do.
What if it was built with aluminum or carbon fiber like a bike? Because you can lose a lot of weight compared to steel. And we've already seen the person that was identified at the end of this episode take out an entire hotel room wall and move a giant 250-pound body by herself. So you wouldn't need a whole team, technically.
It's not aluminum. It's supposed to give me a break. Jesus. You reach so far sometimes. All right, let's go to the Aram storyline. I just say
there's precedent in the show, whether it's physically.
There's no precedent for an aluminum safe. It's a steel safe. It's supposed to be the most secure safe in the world. And you're going to make it out of aluminum. You can break through that in an hour. This is supposed to be the most secure safe. It's going to be heavy as hell. You're going to need a cart or 10 guys to carry something like that out of there.
Hey,
you're
going to have 10 ladies carry it out too. You don't have to be all sexist and shit.
You're going to need a boat standing by. You're going to need all these things. Then you're going to need drywall. And then you're going to need some paint that matches exactly, which, you could have that ready to go. And then you're going to have to have trim, and you're going to have all these things, and you're going to have to cut it. And so when he comes home, he doesn't notice that there's a big wet splotch right there. I mean, there's so many factors that go into it. And my brain goes to logistics. And I'm just like, logistically, it makes no sense unless this guy was gone for a weekend.
Logistically, I just want the name of the contractor because they actually clean up after themselves.
Yeah, stellar work. Stellar work. It's definitely nobody in Illinois.
I got a kitchen to remodel. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, the Aram storyline. I thought this was really cool. Aram was kidnapped by the rabbit, Don Francisco Luis Marquez, and he thinks that Aram stole from him. What he thinks is because he finds his code, the code that Aram had developed that would have made him a millionaire, which he didn't take millions. He took a pretty small payout just to pay off his mom and dad's house or something. And this guy is holding him hostage and wants him to find his shipment. We come to find out that it was actually his son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Antonio, just trying to prove himself this whole time. But still, what did you think about this idea where Aram developed this offensive security measure and brought it to Mick, and then someone actually in a day, some college student weaponized his code?
The college student part, totally can believe that. These kids are super smart these days. Super smart. I like
especially when they're listening to their tunes.
Yeah. Shut up. The whole concept of the Greylock code and the son using it to attack his father. I think that's a really great idea because we see a lot of times, the parents rise up against the kid or kids rise up against the parents because they ignore them or they put them down or don't think they're good enough. So I could totally buy that angle of the story. I thought that was really, really good. The voice box phone call for the ransomware, like that was a little throw off nugget because you're thinking like, oh, maybe it's the same person that's been bothering Cooper the whole time. So trying to throw you off the scent there. I thought that was a good misdirection on Sean's part.
Mm.
All in all, yeah, I really like the concept and the story and the fact that there was more to Nick than meets the eye, hiding the information from the third party security audit report and pulling out those pages, like the whole concept of the story, I think fits really, really well. Like you said, standalone episode by itself, really great television. It's just that the Blacklist connection of it, because none of the stuff with Aram is tied to Red, so Red doesn't get anything out of it again. And then the whole reveal at the end of the episode, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, I like that we went back to his buddy, because I thought his buddy was a jerk from day one. Mm-hmm. And, like Aram just calls him out and says, you're a selfish jackass, which is why I need you, because, you're good at the sales thing. But unfortunately, his buddy lies to him about the vulnerabilities. Omitted, which Aram acknowledges is lying. Now, we've had this debate where you say omitting is not lying. I just want to let you know that Aram on the record and the show on the record have just stated that it is.
Yeah.
So that means I think the Blacklist thinks you're wrong.
I think there's I think there's a nuance.
Yeah, they're very clear. Omitted. He said omitted, which Aram acknowledges is lying.
Yes. Completely leaving something out is lying. But there's a difference between, like, for example, I could tell you...
Keep reaching.
I could tell you that the weather outside is crappy, which would be a true statement, right? It's not lying. It is a true statement. Mm-hmm. But I could also tell you it's literally 80-mile-an-hour winds with rain coming down mixed with sleet and hail. So there's a difference between being honest and being transparent.
Omitted? There was nothing omitted. Both of those things both say the weather is crappy.
Right.
If you said if somebody says how's the weather, and you just said it's weather, that's omitted. Because I wouldn't even call that omitted, because it just sounds like you're just being an asshole. But you know what I'm saying.
Something you would know about.
You hold the truth and you don't share it when someone needs it. That's what omitted is. That's the whole thing Red's been doing this whole show. Yeah. And honestly, what got Liz killed? Yeah, I said it. All right, so let's move on.
Purposely misdirecting somebody for your gain is never a good thing.
Yeah. Telling people the truth when they need it is not lying. That's what good people do. Good-hearted people. I do want a side quest. He's an Avocados / cartel owner. I love this, because avocados are really, really popular these days. So I think that's great that he's trying to subsidize his business.
More importantly, it's please tell me he was actually smuggling drugs inside of the avocado shipments, because if he is literally just an avocado pusher,
drugs or guns. I think it was guns, maybe.
Yeah. Something else had to be in that shipment than just avocados.
Avocados are delicious.
I know guacamole is expensive because I eat a lot of it. So
I never ever ate it until we went on a cruise a few years ago. I've never liked guacamole until a couple of years ago.
Is that because you're just trying to fight back against the other side of your family? I'm curious.
No, because they would win. There's a lot more of them. The consistency. I've never liked the consistency.
Interesting.
So we were on a cruise and we went to a Mexican restaurant, and they happened to have handmade guacamole, and I tried theirs and absolutely loved it. I think I ate a whole bowl of the actual guacamole, not the chips, like the actual guacamole.
Just with a spoon.
Yeah, pretty much. And since then, I've been trying it everywhere, and I like it a lot more now. So I've gotten over that whole consistency thing. So now, I'm a big fan of guacamole. And my wife has been advocating, because she eats avocados all the time, that it's a healthy fat, which I didn't know.
It is a healthy fat.
Yep. So she said it's very, very healthy.
We told everybody the pre-diabetic stuff last week. So now I have to have avocado instead of a banana instead.
Yep.
It works.
It's extremely healthy. She only eats fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff. So I guess that makes sense.
It's a high fiber food as well. So
good to know. Good to know. As long as I can have chips with it.
And it's all freaking expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive. Okay, so at the end, we find out that Antonio is the guy. He was doing it to prove his worth. And I think anybody that's watched TV more than 5 minutes probably guessed that as soon as that kid showed up. I know I did.
Especially when the kid was wearing a ball cap and he was just
trying so hard to be a college student.
Very yuppie and preppy compared to the rest of the family.
As soon as his dad's very dismissive, I'm like, it was him then. Okay.
Yeah.
So no big surprise, but it was still a fun reveal. And especially when his dad tried to shoot him. That was a little drastic.
hey, you gotta do what you gotta do for the business. I mean,
for the business.
We've seen Ozark. We understand how it goes.
And Breaking Bad.
A
little bit closer to this, but yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's another parent-child relationship story on the Blacklist. So true to form.
As we have. I mean, Aram finds out that he basically built a perfect weapon once he gets those vulnerabilities back. So he crashes his own code to make the world a little safer and destroys that guy's business, which I'm pretty sure is probably going to result in a lawsuit or two. So what'd you think of how he handled this? I mean, I figured it was heading this way once he found out that he built a perfect weapon. Aram's not going to let that slide. So what did you think?
I like the move by Aram. I think the only thing that he's missing out on is that you can save the world and also make some money. It's okay to make money. I would have rewritten the code and held it hostage and said, pay me what my dues are, and then I'll unlock the code and write it the right way, because Aram could have just fixed it and gave it back to him and let the business continue without the malicious code in there. So I would have taken it out, hacked his presentation, and then made sure that I got, $10-20 million out of ownership in the company, and then fix the code. It's a win-win, Aram.
But we said he should have done that from the beginning with Nick, right? Like,
yeah,
he should have gotten a big payout to begin with, but he didn't take it. But I guess that makes this a little easier to swallow because he didn't take that big payout. So
he's doing the right thing.
He's doing the right thing. He's a noble guy. Always noble. Or tries to be. Tries to do the right thing. That's why I think he should be in charge.
There's nothing wrong with being right and $20 million richer also. Just saying.
You do make a good point. It's hard to argue with that one, for sure. Well, you want to go into characters? I mean, there's not a lot left in terms of the characters, but there's a whopper out there, so we'll get to it.
Yeah, I mean, there was some good background music this week, but no actual songs. I love the bit at the end that was playing behind when Aram was trying to figure everything out and talking to him. There was a nice piano violin motif there. So, but really great background music this week, just no songs. But you can get all the great songs that have been on the show the entire time over on the playlist, both for Apple and Spotify. You can find the links to those playlists over on our website at theblacklistexposed.com.
Cooper is, in terms of characters, a lot of the characters they were background characters. It was really a Aram and Red's story this week. Would you agree? For the most part?
Totally agree.
Cooper still acting like assistant director. I mean, he's really throwing out what they should do, and Aram's just going with it. I would actually kind of like to see Aram throwing more of his own ideas and say, no, you know what? I appreciate that, Cooper. Appreciate you, but we're going to go this direction. I want to see some of that while he's running the show.
I mean, it's been a week. The guy was just kidnapped by a drug cartel guy.
He's tired.
He's tired.
Very wore out. Yeah.
I did like the move though. Like, can I just make a suggestion? In most companies that doesn't go over very well. When you suggest something to the boss.
They never like that unless the suggestion is exactly what they just said. Great idea. Let's do that.
Right. Or it's the idea they were going to say anyway. And they're like, I was thinking the same thing.
So somehow this is still my idea. We get a callback to LaCroix, that lawyer we wish was on the show more because he's dead now. It's too bad.
And a nice dresser.
I really like that dude. Like he made a real impression in 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
It's a bummer. Well, Cooper wants to research him now. So good. Maybe we'll get a Weekend at Bernie's version of LaCroix.
Hey, you know what?
You got Andrew. And you got him behind the scenes. Just have Andrew McCarthy pop out.
In an entire season so far, like I would actually watch a LaCroix Weekend at Bernie's episode because LaCroix was that good in the 5 minutes he was on the screen.
He was really good. He was. By the way, Andrew McCarthy, I believe, is cast on The Resident. So good for him.
Oh.
I believe that's the show he's going to be on for a while. I don't know if that's going to affect the directing that he does for Blacklist, but I hope not because he does a great job on the Blacklist as a director.
And I watched The Resident, so I'm excited. Thanks for the spoiler alert.
I mean, it was released to the trades, so I don't know how much of a spoiler alert that is. So it was a Blacklist thing, but I'm not going to tell you what that is. But if you want to know, Google.
It's out there.
It's out there. Sadly, it has come to my eyes, and I was spoiled, and I'm not a fan of being spoiled. So,
well, it was your fault for looking in the well.
It sure was, but it wasn't the Kaplan thing. So there's more out there. There's more. I wasn't looking in the well, dude. I would just literally pulled up my Twitter feed. I was not looking for any. I do not look for Blacklist stuff or anything else. I just kind of scrolled and it was out there.
Have you not heard that there's nothing good that comes of Twitter?
I have heard that. I don't think Elon Musk is going to make it any better. So I don't know. All right. So Wrestler and Park, they torture the Geek Squad. That was fun. So weird, but I liked it. It was a fun little side. Instead of beating somebody to death, they're just breaking electronics, which would drive me mad.
If you come in and I'm a computer guy and you take a motherboard and crack it in half, it's sad.
Also, fairly certain, if there's a constitution that still exists in this universe, that's probably against it. Breaking someone's property to get them to talk, I don't think is part of the deal. Investigators can't do it. Although, John Oliver just had a great thing on investigative techniques, so maybe it is a bad one. Maybe it is one that's employed.
I mean, it is a underground task force that's sanctioned yet not sanctioned by the government, so it doesn't really fit and apply, so you can do whatever the hell you want, I guess.
Ram, we got that he needs a mom talk, and his mom comes to his apartment immediately. Love that. She knows something happened to him, and she goes right there anyway. She risks herself. I love that. That's the way. That's how moms do it. They don't call the police first. They go.
They just show up.
Yep. We don't advocate. Please call the police first. If you think somebody's in trouble. Don't go there yourself. He also said he's done with avocados. So this whole thing ruined avocados for him, and that's just sad.
I know, because it's a very healthy alternative.
So it is. All right, now we're on Red. We're getting close to the big reveal.
Well, we got before we talk about Red, though, can we talk about Weech and Teddy?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, was that funny? But
the backpacking scene?
Was that not the most awkward scene? Seeing her take those balls and shove them up into his little butt cheeks, working out his.
Is that what she was doing?
She was working out his pariformis. It was. Just
I thought she was using her knuckles to.
No, she was using his ball, his Benoit ball.
Ugh. All right, that's awkward. But hey, whatever works.
Which then led back to last week's conversation of can we just see the torture scene? So what was he doing with those balls? If that's what Witcher was using them for, what was he using them for? Because that would be interesting.
I just like that Red was convinced that Costa was telling the truth at one point
and sent him back in.
And still sent him back in. And I'm like, that's messed up, man. You were fully aware. You just acknowledged it. And you're like, torture him some more. Just to be sure.
He just likes messing with Teddy.
I guess. I mean, Teddy brought his bocce balls for something, right?
Yeah.
Poor sciatica. It's very painful.
I mean, they could have just played bocce out on that finely manicured lawn. That would have been the thing to do.
I've never played bocce. Have you ever played bocce?
Oh, yeah.
Huh. Feels like a yuppie sport.
It's like curling without ice in a way.
So, yes, definitely a yuppie sport. We get a peek at Red's training videos as Red watches himself.
That totally seems like something Red would do.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's, full of himself.
Well, I just love that he's watching himself while sipping on red wine, relaxing on a Sunday afternoon while somebody's being tortured in the other room. And that is the most narcissistic picture I could have possibly imagined. I'm going to sit here and sip my wine while someone's being tortured and watch myself.
And he's so confident in himself that he has a hard alcohol drink after a wine, which you never do.
Speak for yourself, brother, because I drink whatever's in the house. If I got a goal, you got to get there. Sometimes you got to get there a little faster. Wine doesn't do it.
I know, but you're supposed to drink the hard stuff first and then the wine so you don't have the hangover and the puking after the fact.
If you do the hard stuff first, why do you need the wine?
Sometimes you just, can't keep going with the hard stuff because your liver depends on still functioning.
It's probably going to be my problem down the road. So you have thousands of talented people who work with and for you, but at the end of the day, you're alone. There's a freedom in your new role. You're the alpha wolf. That's the descriptor that Red gives himself, or, intentionally gives to Liz.
Right.
On these videos.
But really, he's talking about himself. When the leader is in a good spot, the pack is always in a good spot.
Yeah, very much. He's just
you might not be in a
good
good spot because there is one weakness that you have.
And that is your blind spot. Agnes. I have no advice for you, though. Do your best and hold on to that like it's the last thing in your heart. because that's what you do with your daughter.
Wink, wink.
Nod, nod.
Nod, nod.
I don't know why anyone would say otherwise at this point. Like, they've made no indication that he is anyone but who he is since the end of season 8, but it is what it is. So now we move on to Heinrich Zimmerstahl, something like that. I've heard it both ways. He's the one that built the safe, this impenetrable safe. He built it just for Red. But someone took the safe and replaced it with a duplicate. And since this guy built it, Red brings him there to the secret island location, the secret lighthouse. And what we find out is that I assumed you wanted this. Someone said that they were building it for you. You needed a duplicate for some reason.
And then it switches, and you're immediately going like, wait a minute, the real Reddington's alive.
No, I never said that.
Some people thought it like in that 2 minutes that he went off the screen and then came back to the screen.
Or somebody were hoping, because as soon as they said woman, someone was hoping it was a Katarina lookalike or something like that.
Right.
I'm sure.
The emails were like being drafted in that 2 minute period. That was on screen and off screen.
Just type it away. Ha, I got this. Got this blacklist exposed. Ha ha. Shit. Kaplan. You knew everything.
That's exactly how it went down. That's exactly.
I pictured it as I watched it. She knew everything about Red. She had glasses, not very tall. She called me dearie, and her name was Mr. And then we hear Kaplan. Now we don't actually see the wonderful Susan Blomert, but we get the impression that it's going to be Kaplan. That it is Kaplan. Because that's the only person that says dearie, only person that has glasses. I mean, I guess she could have an estranged daughter out there. That's possible. I don't want to put anything to bed, but it really feels to me like they're bringing Kaplan back. And we've said before that we thought she was dead, but that she could be alive because they never did pull her body out of the river. And we never understood how she could be dead because it wasn't that big of a fall.
Right. Because we also knew that when they did that shot, someone actually did jump off the bridge. So,
well, plus I have eyes, and that was not that big of a fall.
Right.
I mean, I guess the woman survived a bullet to the head. You know what I wonder? I think this is an important question before we get into the whole Kaplan of it all.
Is she made of aluminum?
No. Jesus. Well, in her head, she probably got that, metal plate in her head. Maybe that's aluminum. Maybe it floats.
Carbon fiber.
Above water.
Carbon fiber would float for sure.
There you go. Boom. Keeps her above water. There you go. Write that in the script. Her last episode was what, season 4?
Well, she had
she was in an episode.
One.
She was in the Liz flashback one, right? But I'm talking about like her last episode as Mr. Kaplan.
Yeah, it was the end of 4.
So, what about people that came later to the show? They don't even know who Mr. Kaplan is.
Oh, you're saying like someone just like picked up the show and started watching it?
I'm sure they have, right?
Does that happen in the age of binge and Netflix and everything?
It's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. People still, all you need is to pick up an episode at the beginning of the season and think you got the gist of it and go.
I suppose. I would think if I liked the show that I'd go back and watch the rest of the show.
You're a completionist, though. So
I am a completionist. Talk to me about my torture chamber world of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, I would have left that show so long ago. So what do you think about the idea of bringing Kaplan back? And I got to say, we do love Susan. Susan is one of those people. We actually had dinner with her one night, and she is one of the nicest people. I mean, she plays such a badass in the show, but she is genuinely one of the nicest, kindest people. So I love what she does with this character. She's done a lot of judges on TV. She's a great actress. It's good that if she's coming back. I don't want to assume because I haven't actually seen her face yet, but I feel like we can assume. Can we assume?
I don't know if we could assume because she could architect all of this and never actually make it on the screen. So she could, just like Red runs the Blacklist, right? But you never see.
Oh, like she's really the big bad for next year or something?
Could potentially.
Or just an enigma?
An enigma. Or the name is just the name because, again, this was 2 years ago when this was all concocted. And so maybe she was around 2 years ago, but maybe she's not around now.
That's true. Yeah, I got you. All right. So what do you think is actually?
Felt, but yet,
what do you think
just like this entire season? Liz isn't around, but her presence sure has been felt.
God, you're not kidding, right? We're on 9/17 and we're still talking about Liz constantly. Hey, that's the impact people have when you love them.
Yes.
And they're your family. So what do you think about Kaplan coming back? Do you think that's where we're going?
I mean, if you're going to bring a character back that potentially died on the show, then Kaplan is the only one that would work, because it's the only one that, A, we didn't find a body at the end. B, it's the only one that actually survived almost being dead once before. And like we said, the fall from the bridge was never that far. So we always thought, like, there's a possibility she can come back. It'd be weird. I don't know what kind of story you would do with it, but she could come back. And I think that's exactly where we're at right now. We're asking the question of, do we like this or don't we like this? And I think I'm leaning on to the side of, I love Susan. I'd love to see her back. I think she's awesome as a foe against Red. She did great in season 4. But at the same time, we already did this I'm against you in season 4 story. So I don't need the same story. I don't need to go back to the well. I want something new. For 17 episodes, we've wanted something new. So, yeah, I'm 50-50 right now.
Yeah, I am probably 70-30. There's 30% that just loves her performance.
Yes.
And her as a person. And that just, I would welcome her back, because I do think that was probably the episode she was in. I think that season, she was the highlight of the series in terms of when she went bad, when she broke bad. I thought that made for a fantastic season.
For sure. Because the front end of that season was the whole Alexander Kirk thing, and everybody was kind of like, I don't know about season 4. Season 4 is a little,
Yeah, and then once she took over and she was the big bad, man, it just amped up, and it was great. It was absolutely, it was great to have a formidable foe who knew all of Red's secrets, and he couldn't just pull the wool over her eyes every episode.
Correct.
So that was great. On the same token, like you said, I feel like we've done this. Now, we don't know what direction they're going to go, because what I can't fathom for the life of me is how it could be Kaplan when Kaplan would never, ever want Liz hurt. And there's no storyline you can write that would convince me that she would. None.
I am so pissed off that I gave my life and dedication to this person. And so I'm at the point where I'm finally like, I'm just freaking done with you. So I'm coming at you with everything and taking the one thing away because you took my life from me. There could be enough vengeance after everything that's happened that I could see a small sliver of it to get back at Red, because she's pissed off that she lost her girlfriend, she lost her business, she lost everything, that she lost her person in the woods.
And she finally puts it all together, so now she's going to take Liz out?
Well, maybe the idea was that.
No, but she turned loose. Well, in theory, we don't know exactly if the plan worked the way she planned it. Maybe she's in hiding because the plan backfired. Like, she wanted Van Dyke to kill Red. That
exactly. That's possible. Exactly what I thought it was. She wanted to kill Red and take over the business because she understood all the business, and everybody would be able to
maybe just
believe her.
Right? Yeah, that could possibly be it. Sure.
And Van Dyke took matters into his own hand, because he was like, "Oh, I remember we were supposed to kill the girl, not the guy." And Van Dyke acted on his own accord. And
to kill, like, the only way that works is if the intent was to kill Red and it was a accident or it was a mistake or something, that Van Dyke would kill Liz. But to me, Kaplan was always very, very smart for the most part. How could you not see that was a possibility? That Liz was going to be in the line of fire. Like, she could be a casualty. So to me, there's no way the show works for me personally that Kaplan was intentionally trying to hurt Liz. Like, I just will not buy it, because there are too many episodes and background to go back to and say that Kaplan loved her as her own. Even the season where she's going after Red, she would not hurt Liz. Like, that was her big thing, and really kind of her weakness, the same weakness that Red had. Wouldn't hurt Liz. So she could have taken Red out many times, and, but didn't want to risk Liz getting hurt. And Liz was trying to save her the whole time too.
Mm-hmm.
And plus it would kind of be a betrayal of that whole relationship in a way. So I just don't see it as feasible.
But that's how enemies are formed, by betraying that relationship.
Nah, I'm sorry. There are some aspects that I think make or break what you love about television. And obviously we're speculating because we haven't seen how this plays out yet. We don't know. To me, that would break the trust of the viewer, I think. because that's a cemented relationship that I don't think you mess with.
Because
especially now
sex robots didn't do that?
Well, yeah, don't get me started. Stupid sex robot. God. When's Westworld come back? No, but so I mean, I'll be curious to see how it plays out, because it very well could be she was gunning for Red and she didn't expect Liz to be in the crowd. Like, she expected him to go for Red and only Red, and didn't expect Liz to get in the way. That could be the plan.
Could be the plan.
Do you have any other theories for why this would be Kaplan and what the intent would be?
I mean, it's only been 12 hours since I saw the episode, so I haven't really thought much more on it, other than the one we just talked about, which is that Van Dyke made his own decision, and it wasn't originally the plan. And that's why we haven't seen Kaplan in 2 years, because she's in hiding.
Well, that's why we have our question of the week, which is, why would Kaplan want Liz killed? If that's the case. If that's even the case. Or what would you think the plan is? What do you think Kaplan's plan was? I'm curious to see what you guys come up with. Hey, and maybe we'll get more information next week.
At least we got something to talk about finally, which is good.
Yeah, well, I mean, we made a little bit of traction on Cooper, a little bit. We got, a couple lines about LaCroix, and then we put Aram's tech to bed, and now we've got the big bad for the final few episodes, right? Because we've only got, 18, 19, 20, 6 episodes?
5.
5?
5.
Bam. We are at the end, baby.
Man.
This is it. Want to take a quick second and say thank you to all of you that are supporting the show by going to Patreon. That's Patreon, patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. Special big thanks to our honorary blacklister, Patricia. Also, special shout out to our task force members, Marilyn, Cindy, James, Jen, Joanne, Johnny, Justin. That's a lot of J's. Karen, Catherine, Sharon, Lacey Ann, and Vanessa, all official task force members. All of these people receive cool gifts from us, and you get a cool gift as well for donating at the $20 level or higher. Do you want a cool t-shirt or coffee mug? Come on, you do. You don't have to stay at that level forever, just a few months to get the cool gifts.
And of course, our $5 patrons get the episode before anybody else. So if you want to be in the know as soon as possible, head on over to Patreon. That's patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. Fill the fedora, throw your money in the hat, and we'll be back with your thoughts right after this.
Hey there, fellow podcast listener. Do you love video games but are tired of the negativity surrounding most podcasts?
Why not give The Gaming Outsider a try? We set ourselves apart from other video game podcasts by including our community in the discussion on games as much as possible. And hey, we'll never charge you to be part of the show.
We pride ourselves on being an inclusive, family-friendly show while discussing industry news, the games we've been playing, and a weekly topic centered on gaming both new and old.
So check out The Gaming Outsider at the same location you're listening to this fine program, or check out our website, thegamingoutsider.com. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.
Hey, this is Amir. I play Aram on The Blacklist, and you are listening to The Blacklist Exposed.
All right, Special Agent Intel. We've got George Newman talking about last week's episode. He says, good episode, both the show and the podcast. Thank you, George. A couple thoughts and questions. Number one, as you mentioned, Red talked a lot about moral relativism. Katerina was a moral relativist, as Ilya confirmed in Ratsviet. Ilya, that is what I hate about you. Katerina, don't say that. Ilya, well, don't take it personally. It's how all moral relativists feel about righteousness in the face of impossible odds. On the plus side, I'll have nothing but love for you if we succeed, which we won't. So,
good
feels
nugget.
like it's a Katerina thread.
Good nugget, George.
Yeah, good, very good nugget.
I missed that one.
That.
Look at that. That's what we have all of you. Send in your thoughts and theories.
Missed it.
Good stuff.
Number two, Red and Dembe said only 2 people had access to the DV safe in Tibet, Red and Liz. Not sure whether that meant a key or combination or retina or fingerprint scan, but if it was a combination or key, Marvin could have gained access to it after Red disappeared when Liz died. It would literally be like a how-to step-by-step guide in taking over and running Red's empire. Turns out, not Marvin.
Not that we know yet. Could be an inside. Sure. Could be an inside man for Kaplan.
True. Number 3, how long before Aram tells Cooper, get there now? That's funny. Number 4, do either of you think or know whether Red ever learned about the burn notice the DOJ placed on Liz at the end of season 8? I can't remember it ever being referenced again this season. I don't know if he knows about that. I don't think so. Or I don't think it ever came up anyway.
Yeah, because it's been 2 years and she died, so why would he have to care about it? Does it matter?
I guess so he could be mad at the DOJ. I mean, it's not like he likes him anyway. He just necessary convenience, right?
Maybe it's an important story point that's coming up and why Liz ended up getting shot instead of Red, potentially.
Sure. It does bring up, you do mention something you said earlier kind of popped in my head. So something we didn't mention, that if this is actually Kaplan, in fact, we didn't see her face, right? We just saw legs. Maybe they couldn't afford her this episode. Maybe she was unavailable. If it is in fact Kaplan, so does that mean that Kaplan was the one that was setting up Cooper?
That's right, because we now knew that the tech for the tracking was connected to Cooper. So do we assume that Kaplan is setting up Cooper? I don't know what that would benefit other than to just get to Red. Take down Cooper, you take down the task force, you take down Red. So that could work.
Maybe. What do you think? That's the only thing I could think of is, I mean, it definitely is connected. So that would mean that if it were Kaplan, then Kaplan is the one. And I'm hoping for like a big surprise. Like it's not actually Kaplan. Like we're just being, the rug is being pulled out from under us, or it's Kaplan's estranged daughter or something. I mean, maybe she adopted a child at some point we weren't aware of because she had a whole life that we weren't aware of,
Like here's, hopeful boy, right? Wishful thinking. Like we've kind of ribbed on the season a little bit because we've like, oh, hey, Liz is still here. Oh, we're going back to the well, blah, 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 blah. All the episodes have been really great. Like standalone television in a box, 44 minutes. These are very entertaining episodes of their own accord, right? It's just fitting it into this larger mythos. If they pull out some big thing in these next 5 episodes where you're just kind of like, wow, that's amazing. That's kind of what I hope happens. Because I feel like it's still there and it still could happen. I just don't want to set myself up for disappointment.
I mean, I feel like there's been a lot of good this season. Like there has been a lot of good. There hasn't been a lot of serialization. There hasn't been a lot of carrying from episode to episode that really was impactful carryover. It was very minor stuff. Like this whole setup with Cooper, I feel like has been drug out way too long.
For a show that usually pays off things very quickly. Yeah, it feels like Cooper should have been like done by episode 8.
Yeah, something. Or definitely by the mid-season finale or something.
Yeah.
But I also feel like they were also trying to rebuild the show completely in many ways while also adhering to what came before it. And that has got to be a struggle. And I think they've kind of struggled to find that line the whole season. Maybe the last 5 episodes will be really the gel that brings it all together. And where they want to go from here, since they're coming back next year.
Yeah, that's right. Season 10 still on the docket.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it like a bad season or anything. I mean, it's still good television. It's just different than the 8 years that came before it in many, many respects. Which is why it surprises me that they would go back to the well when they seem like they're trying to move forward. Like, why not create a new bad guy or new foe? And maybe it ties into the Skinner aspect because I feel like that's just been totally forgotten.
Oh yeah, that tattoo is for nothing.
Yeah, right. I just feel like, well, that's how we get Red back in the game. Well, couldn't Red just get back in the game because it's Red? I mean, built up his business again in no time when he was working from a cheap ass hotel.
I mean, barely you get that cool ankle tattoo that you wanted, and then you have to wear socks the whole time. Like, what
exactly. The hell? Oh well, it's interesting stuff. We'll see where we go from here. I'm very, very curious to see if it is actually Kaplan, and what that means. I don't think any of us should assume we know what the storyline is going to be just because it seems like an obvious turn.
And remember, these safes. What's the plural of mice? Mice.
Mices.
These units were built 2 years ago, so keep that in mind. There's still a 2-year time gap since Kaplan interacted with.
No, but you got to remember, it's tied to Cooper, and Cooper just recently got framed. So the person behind it's still involved, still trying to get to Red.
Or the person that was working with Kaplan is still involved.
I think it had to be the exact same person.
Because someone could be pulling Kaplan, and Kaplan had, just like, Liz was doing stuff for Townsend. Maybe Kaplan is actually doing stuff for somebody else or being forced to do something for somebody else. Because we've seen a lot of stories this year about how, oh, my kid was kidnapped, and because my kid was kidnapped, he forced me to do this thing. So there could be that they're setting up that maybe Kaplan is actually the one that's been captured and having to do this stuff for somebody else that we don't know.
Right. Interesting.
Lots of good threads. A
lot of stuff going on. And I like that I don't know where it's going to go now. We'll have more to say depending on where it goes, but I like that I don't know exactly what's going to happen here. Always a good sign. Well, that's going to conclude this discussion. So now's the time to recommend the Blacklist to your friend, your enemy, or your neighbor. And when you please also recommend they listen and subscribe to the Blacklist Exposed. Huh? Pretty please. All the case profiles can be found at theblacklistsexposed.com and everywhere great podcasts can be found.
For more great Aaron and Troy hijinks, follow us on your favorite social media outlet. I'm at Troy Heinrichs. He's at Aaron Smirks. Together we are at the Blacklist GSM. And we will see you all next week because we only got 5 left.
You won't see me next week because I'm actually traveling.
Oh.
So Rory will be back.
Will be back.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Or it'll just be Troy talking to himself. Nobody loves doing that more than Troy. So he'll be.
This is a true story.
He'll just sit there and tell you all the theories he was projecting for this whole season.
Right now, I'm too tired to care.
Big thanks for listening. Don't forget to answer our profiling question. Why would Kaplan want to kill Liz? I don't get it.
Why?
Now I'm going to go have some paste. I mean guacamole, because that's a consistency guacamole is.
It is delicious.
Really. I've grown to it. Take care, guys.
Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs. That's at Troy Heinrichs on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at 5popcorn. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.
El Conejo. El Conejo. El Conejo. Fuck. My wife would kill me right now for getting this. El Conejo. Conejo. Conejo? Now, here's your outtake at the very, very end if you want. Jane! How do you say it correctly? God, you know what it is? It's mentally in my head because of all of our family outings. Because my wife is Hispanic, I'm always conscious of how I say everything.
I thought it was Conejo, right?
Conejo, okay. El Conejo.